Vakhtang Gorgasali, the last king of Iberia, eastern Georgia and the ancient Georgian Khanate. He is known for founding Tbilisi, restoring the Sveti Tskaveli Cathedral, expanding the borders of Iberia, increasing its influence in the Caucasus and Asia Minor, building the Bonisi Sioni and eventually entering the top 4 most famous kings of Georgia, in whose honor streets, squares were named and monuments were erected. The 50 years of Vakhtang's reign are a huge part of Georgian history, its history. The title Gorgasali, which the Persians awarded him, is translated from Persian as a wolf's head. According to legend, the king had a chasuble with a wolf's head in front and a lion's behind. When the Persians saw a chasuble with the image of a wolf and a lion, they would look at each other, saying, "Beware of the wolf's head." Vakhtang is one of the greatest figures of the Georgian state, a saint, the son of King Mithridates VI and Queen Sadukta. He took the throne at the age of 7, after the death of his father, Mithridates. Before Vakhtang came of age, his mother Sandukta was regent. During his reign, the Iberian kingdom was a vassal of Sasanian Iran. In 451, the Alans took advantage of the empire's weakness and invaded central Kartli. They began to plunder cities and villages and kidnapped Vakhtang's 3-year-old daughter Mirandukti and many other children. Byzantium also took advantage of this opportunity. It first occupied Klarjeti, southern Georgia, and then moved legions to Tbilisi in western Georgia, after which the Byzantines stormed the city of Kutaisi and occupied the largest fortress in western Georgia. In 458, the 18-year-old Vakhtang ascended the throne of Iberia. Immediately upon his accession, he ordered preparations for war and, at the age of 18, organized a retaliatory campaign in the North Caucasus, which ended with the defeat of the Alans and Ossetians. Vakhtang conquered Ossetia, rescued the captives, including his youngest brother Mirandikt. He occupied the Dariali fortress and fortified the northern border of the country. The Ossetians in King Vakhtang moved to Jaketi, on the modern territory of Zaka and Tuapse. And from Jaketi he moved to Tbilisi, conquered Byzantium and annexed most of Klarjeti to western Georgia. Immediately after the liberation of western Georgia, the king returned to Mount Askeda. After this expedition, Vakhtang Gorgasali received the title of Hero of Yalbas. And the famous folk poem, which the people attached to him with love, remained in history. Vakhtang married for the first time at the age of 20. After the end of a large-scale campaign in the Caucasus, his first wife was Princess Balandukt, daughter of the Persian Shah II III. From her, Vakhtang had a son and heir to the Iberian throne, Dachi I. Second wife was Queen Helena, daughter of Leo I. The Byzantine Emperor. In 459, the Persian Shah was killed by his brother Peroz with the help of the Huns. The 17th king of the Sasanian dynasty, Peroz I, soon after taking the throne, began a war in Central Asia and India. Shah Peroz invited Vakhtang to participate in the campaign. First, Vakhtang and Peroz invaded Gurgan, where the Persians settled and imposed tribute. Then they launched an offensive against the Indian kingdoms. In India, they fought for 3 years, but were unable to capture the main fortress of India. Then they invaded the state of Sindh, in the territory of present-day Pakistan. In one of the battles, the king of Sindh challenged Vakhtang to a duel. Vakhtang was able to defeat him and seriously wound him. When the Indians saw that their king had lost the battle and been captured, they retreated. The Persian warriors shouted the name of Vakhtang. The Persian king and his nobles were delighted and expressed their gratitude to him. The Sinditas were forced to submit to the Persians and pay them a large tribute. It should also be noted here that Vakhtang, as indicated by many Georgian and Persian sources, was a man of great stature and enormous strength. His height exceeded 2 meters in 40 centimeters, from 465 to 482. Vakhtang carried out several reforms, strengthened the kingdom and expelled the incendiary priests from Iberia. In 482, he executed Varskeni, the Patriarch of Kavemo Kartli, who was a loyal man to the Persian Shah. This actually meant a declaration of war on Persia. In addition, Persian sources of the early Middle Ages write that a part of the nobles began a coup in Persia. These nobles remained loyal to Sinshah Ormazd, who was Vakhtang's father-in-law and who was killed by Peroz. The nobles wanted Vakhtang to become the leader of the rebel army. Peroz Shah learned about the conspiracy, as a result of which he executed the nobles, and sent a large army under the command of Muran Shivori to Georgia. The Mtitvari Valley was filled with Persians. King Vakhtang hid his small army in the mountains of Kavemo Kartli. Vakhtang asked for help. and from Byzantium, the Huns and the Armenians. The Armenians came, but on the eve of the battle they left the Georgian camp and surrendered to the Persians. While the Byzantines and the Huns did not appear at all. The first, Vakhtang, was defeated in the clash. He withdrew all his forces to Tbilisi to replenish the warriors. While Vakhtang was gathering an army in Tbilisi, the Persian commander retreated. Because Peroz died in the battle with the Huns and his body was not found, Vakhtang used the unrest in Iran to build a new city, Tbilisi. The new Shah, Kavadark, demanded that the Georgian king participate in a campaign against Byzantium. Vakhtang refused to attack his Orthodox brothers and began preparations for war with Kavadark in 502. In the year 502, the Shah's army invaded Iberia. This gigantic army was led by Kavadark himself and Prince Bartami. The enemy entered the Iori, Rustavi and Samgori gorges. The Georgian army was 5 times smaller. Before the battle, Peter the Catholicos blessed King Vakhtang and his army. The battle began with a swift attack by the Georgian cavalry. The enemy's vanguard was completely destroyed. As Georgian and Persian sources write, the king fought like a lion. On the battlefield, he met Shakkava face to face. At the sight of the bloody Vakhtang, Kavadi turned his horse and gave battle. He fled from the wet, but the young prince Bartoma agreed to fight with Vakhtang, but he also could not withstand the 60-year-old Georgian king. His subordinates had to intervene in the battle and save the Lord Suri. Vakhtang fought from dawn to dusk. The brave Georgian nobleman did not shoot him with a poisoned arrow and did not mortally wound him. Only in the royal residence of Ujarma did it become known that the king was wounded, when the dying man died on the couch. Meanwhile, the Byzantine Emperor Phrayos Markian arrived in Kartli. With a large army, the Shah urgently mobilized his army and retreated to the south. The Byzantines decided to pursue the Persians. The two armies met near the city of Karno. The great bloodshed ended in defeat. Both kings considered themselves victorious, despite the fact that they returned to their capitals empty-handed. Vakhtang's main activities were aimed at unifying Georgia and reducing the dependence of its provinces on the Iranian Principality. The king tried to bring Iran and Byzantium into conflict. Turning Kartli into Hereti, he defeated the Ossetians and occupied the Dariali fortress, thereby strengthening the northern border of Kartli. Then he launched a campaign in western Georgia, freed it from the Byzantines, strengthened the power of King Kuba, and returned victorious to Mount Askeda. King Vakhtang's faith, wisdom, purity, beauty, and courage were amazing. With a height of 2 meters and 40 centimeters, he could fight tirelessly. Dressed in armor, fully armed, he would throw a horse over his shoulder and walk from Mount Askeda to the Armazi fortress on foot. He could even catch a deer in a run. At the same time, with long prayers and night vigils, distributing alms to the poor, he served God righteously. The Holy King was an extremely wise politician, showed great restraint and calmly resolved state issues. Vakhtang fulfilled the will of the Holy King Marian and built the Georgian Cross Monastery in Jerusalem. The wooden church built during the time of St. Nino in Mount Askeda was replaced with a stone one. At the same time, he created several new dioceses. Vakhtang built a temple in Nicosia and founded a new Nicosia diocese. King Vakhtang built the fortresses of Tukari, Ardanoji and Akiz. He founded the monasteries of Ardanoji, Mir, Shindobi, and Akiz, and built many other fortresses, churches, and monasteries. He built a new semi-residence in Ujarma, laid the foundation for the new capital, Tbilisi. His political goal was equal union with Orthodox Byzantium, independence of the church and people, and unity. In 502, the 60-year-old King Vakhtang had to defend his country for the last time in an unequal battle with the Persians. He was mortally wounded by the enemy Mazar. Before his death, King Vakhtang summoned the clergy, family, and representatives of the royal court and exhorted them to have firm faith and seek death for the name of Christ, in order to receive eternal glory. All of Georgia mourned the king who had died for Christ and the Georgian people. From the royal residence of Ujarma, the deceased king, he was taken to the capital, to the Svetitskivri cathedral he had built, and buried with great honors. With the blessing of the Catholicos Patriarch of all Georgia, Ilya II, a side altar was added to the Sioni Patriarchal Cathedral, in the name of Vakhtang Gorgasali, and a temple was built in his honor in the city of Rustavi.